Twitter, and Facebook tonight.
Okay.
Hey everybody, this is Melinda Russell with Women's Motorsports Network. I also am the founder of the International Women's Motorsports Association, Racing Girls Rock Podcast, and the Women's Motorsports Network News Digital Magazine. So my co-host is Brett Timmerman. Brett is on with me every week, and we're going to stick to Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Unless something just crazy happens and he's racing with Adriana somewhere, then we might have to switch it up. But most of the time we're going to be here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. So put that in your calendar, put it in your Google Calendar so that you remember to be here. Also, remember that you can do the chat. So if you want to comment or chat with us or put up a question when we get our guest on, we'd love to chat with the people that are listening. So there's Benjamin. He's our #1 fan. So awesome. Welcome back, Benjamin Collins from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. He's at the Ace Hardware. Well, let me tell you where I am. I'm at Panera Bread in Kalamazoo, Michigan. And I'll tell you why. So we're going to have a little bit different start to the show tonight, Brett. Because my husband and I traveled. We left last Friday at around 7:30 a.m. and we drove a ride around 700 miles, a little over 12 hours. And the next day we drove 650, and the next day we drove 660. And long days, and we went past the forest fires in New Mexico. We stayed at a truck stop where there was a shooting. We just had lots of excitement on our trip. But I had somebody say to me before we left Arizona, "Oh, Melinda, you have such a good, fun life. You're in Arizona in the winter, and you get to go to races, and you get to do this, and you do that." And I do. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed to be able to do all those things and spend time with my grandkids while I'm out there, and come back to Michigan and spend time with my granddaughters and my grandson and watch my granddaughter race and stuff. I am blessed. But here's what I'm going to tell you. Everybody has stuff. Everybody has stuff that happens, don't they, Brett?
They do.
There is no perfect life. And so I'm just going to share with you what my life's been like the last few days. And then if I look tired and I seem a little grumpy, you'll understand why. Because we were on the road for 3 days in a Class A RV with a dog. And we stayed in, the first night, we stayed in a truck stop. Like I said, there was a shooting. Some guy didn't like what his girlfriend was doing, and he shot her 3 times, and she ran into the truck stop, and luckily she didn't die, and they did catch him. But we thought we were in a pretty safe place. So that was night number 1. Night number 2, we didn't have any problems, but it was late days. We get home to Michigan, and if you didn't know, we're building a barn dominium, which is half house, half shop for my husband. And since last August, my deadline was May 1st. You have to have my house done by May 1st. Well, if you're doing any kind of construction, you know how that goes. It's been crazy, Brett. You can't get this. You order this, it's going to be 90 days, when it used to be 2 weeks. All this kind of stuff. Not to mention, and Brett can attest to this as well, because I always had the same weather. They have had so much rain here. And of course, my land where my house is being built is down to the dirt. And so what's it look like? I should post a picture. It's awful. So they finally came and put the driveway in because they couldn't do it before. We have a driveway, but the house isn't done. It's going to be another 10 days to 2 weeks. And here we thought we were going to come home and move in and park the motorhome, and away we go, right? So we slept in the motorhome, parked on the street for 2 nights, and we decided this isn't working. So we found a little campground 10 miles from the house, little grass and a little bit of gravel spots. Well, again, how much has it rained? So yesterday, it rained for more than 24 hours. We went to the RV park, and Mark was pulling the RV through, and guess what happened? The back wheels got stuck. So he's halfway on the lot behind us and halfway on the lot that we have. So then this smart little young guy comes and says, well, you're on 2 lots. And I said, well, I can't do anything tonight, and I wasn't very happy. So today we got it fit. We got it pulled out. We were all set. But you know what? Stuff happens. The guy who ordered my cabinets didn't order any laundry room cabinets. I don't know why, but now that, every day there's been something. So, Brett, do you have stuff every day? Or it feels like it, doesn't it?
It does. People don't see the real life that racers live, or people like you live. They see the glorious days, and it's tough. It's racing on. We travel a lot to race, and it takes a toll.
Mm-hmm.
You guys live in Arizona 6 months out of the year.
Yeah.
You got to deal with you built your new house from Arizona.
I did.
So I mean, life is tough. We all have a tough life. We're all here for each other. If anybody needs anybody, just reach out.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the point, is that we all go through it. Whether you think that it's perfect, or Brett's life is perfect, or mine, it's not. We all go through it. And so one of the things that both of us, are important to us is that if you have struggles, if you just need somebody to talk to and say, I'm having a crappy day, hey, reach out to me, because I can share with you some crappy days too, and we can help each other. And Brett's the same. And, it kind of ties in a little bit too with, we're partnering with the National Suicide Prevention Hotline. Brett and I have both been through suicide with family members, close friends. And so that's all part of it. It's all part of being there for each other. And so that was my rant for the first however many minutes of the show. I just felt like we needed to share that because, racing's hard. It's expensive. You think you're going to the track and you're going to have a great night, and some idiot runs into you and you don't even get to race, and you've driven 4 hours. You see it all the time, like in the Cup Series and different ones. And so it happens all across the board. And go ahead.
Yeah. People see, you see our car behind us, and they see Rowdy Energy or Pit Viper. We do have big names on our car, but we don't really get nothing out of it. So people, we just like the product, so we share it.
Right.
And people think that we're made of money, and we're not. Racing, I stress every single day, how am I going to get Adriana to the next level?
Mm-hmm.
It's stressful. I thought about selling everything I own. It's a very stressful situation. So anybody listening, you're not alone out there.
Exactly. So we just wanted to share that tonight, and we might share something about that again next week, because I'm going to be in my motorhome for 10 or 12 more days, Brett, in this little pokey campground that is pitiful, and it's 10 miles to the next McDonald's, and it's just great. And I have no internet. I have one bar there, so I had to come to Panera. So if you can hear the music from Panera, I apologize, but this is how it is. So, Brett, we have a very, very special guest tonight. I'm so excited to have Jesse here. Jesse, I'm going to bring you in to the stream. This is Jesse Owens. Test your mic, Jesse. Let me see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
I can. Awesome. Perfect. So, Jesse lives in Cave Creek, Arizona. Been there several times this winter. Had no idea that that's where she lived, but next winter I'll know, and we will get together. We're going to go to one of those biker bars that we like up there, because that's they have the big, I think it was in March, huge biker week, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Thousands and thousands of bikes, seriously, converge on this little town. So, and they also have a place, I'm trying to think what it's called, but you'll know. They have alcohol milkshakes. It's that little diner. It's been there forever. It's like Ed's Diner or something. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah, there's some.
There is. But they make milkshakes with alcohol. And so, anyway. They said we've got an echo, so let me see if I maybe need to turn the volume down a little bit. Let us know if that's better or not. It's, we're kind of new, Jesse, to this. This is what, is this our third or fourth episode, Brett?
Third.
So, third. So we're still learning how StreamYard works, but we do love it. So Jesse Owens was introduced to me by our mutual friend Lori Cutter. We've talked about her before, and Lori has Champion Race Promotions, and we want to give her a plug. She's worked with Adriana. Brett knows her very well. She's my friend. She works with Jesse. So Jesse, we're going to start. Brett's going to start you off, and it looks like you might be up. So we'll just, there we go. Got to have good internet for this. So Brett, go ahead and start the interview with Jesse, and let's learn more about her.
Hey Jesse, I'm Brett Timmerman. Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's just
You're cutting in and out. You're cutting in and out, Jesse. Can you
hear me better?
a little bit? Hopefully, we'll get it to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Coming better.
It's still cutting in and out a little bit, but do you have headphones by any chance? When Brett put his headphones in, or maybe your phone. If you have
better with the phone up.
Yeah, it's more about hearing you.
You still have an echo.
Okay.
Yeah. We're gonna let her figure that out, Brett. Yeah, because we want to be able to hear it, because we want to be able to, we're being recorded and we want to be able to share it and stuff. So while she's doing that, I try to keep up with a lot of websites and a lot of Facebook pages, women that race. And so one of my favorite ones is Shift Up Now. So Shift Up Now is an organization for women in motorsports. Pippa Mann and some other ladies are kind of running that website. And I love that I can follow them. And they, a lot of times, will post like who's won, who's done this, who's done that. So I'm just going to share a couple things. And when Jesse comes back, then we'll figure that out with her. So maybe
we're members of Shift Up Now.
Yeah, I am too. So that's good. So we both support Shift Up Now. So one of the ones that came across was Sally Mcnulty, and so I'm just going to read it to you because they wrote it better than I could. Shift Up Now athlete Sally Mcnulty has her sights set for 2022, aiming to be the first woman to win the TC America powered by Skip Barber Championship. Now I'm friends with some people at Skip Barber, and hopefully we're going to go to Virginia and do an event with them this summer if we can get all that put together. So it says, returning to the SRO sanctioned series for another year, Mcnulty will drive a full season in the number 78 Borla Exhaust VGRT Civic SI in the TCA class. You know what? I'll be honest. A lot of that is like a foreign language to me because I don't know that much about this yet. There's Jesse back. I'll finish this, Jesse, and then we'll talk. I don't know a lot about this, but that's why I love Shift Up Now, because they share about series and women that I don't know that much about that kind of racing. So I'm going to learn more about it. It said she will compete for Victor Gonzalez Racing Team, which is the VGRT. It's a Florida-based race team with experience and success in professional sports car racing. Mcnulty is one of 4 athletes to receive sponsorship from Bell Technologics and Shift Up Now, which will be represented on her 2022 racing suit and car. So I'm going to keep up and follow her, and hopefully maybe we can get her on our podcast one night to explain to me, because I don't know that much about all that, what all she's doing and that. So we'll work on that for a future show. So Jesse, we're going to try to get you on here now and be able to talk to you. Okay. So Brett, go ahead.
How are you sounding now, Jesse?
Can you guys hear me better?
Much better.
Yes.
Okay. The AirPods work. Good.
Good. Okay.
All right. So let's know more about Jesse Owens. How'd you get started, and what brought you into the racing world?
Yeah. So I'm 16 now. So I've been racing for 7 years. I started when I was 9 years old. Pretty young for, I guess you could say, the sport that I started in. But I grew up in racing. Like, my dad has a business at our shop, or at our house, sorry. Our shop is at our house. And I literally grew up in the shop, grew up around race cars, grew up around big names in the off-road industry. And I started driving probably when I was around 5 or 6. But when I turned 9, we started a Razor 170 class at the Lucas Oil Off-Road Regional Series. And we started running a couple races there, and it took off. And from there, the rest has been history.
That's awesome. I kind of checked out your page today and seen that you were racing Razors.
So that's more like rally racing. Would that be right, Jesse?
More so, yes. It's a lot different than, say, circle track racing or pavement go-karts, NASCAR. It's jumps, whoops, turns, both left and right. It's like the generic Razor 1000 you would see. I started out in like a miniature version of that. And then I've just grown up to the big classes now.
Okay.
So I see you racing micros too?
Yes, that was a new thing probably about a year ago. I got a ride under 49 Motorsports, and from there it's taken off. Stayed with them for about a year. We just changed a couple months ago, and I drive for Eric Moore and my dad at the moment, and we are teamed up with Josh Castro, and everything has been going amazing lately with that. We've been knocking out top 10 finishes, won our first heat race a couple weeks ago, and really been showing some speed out there.
What do you prefer, micro or off-road?
Yeah, I get asked that question a lot, and it's tough for me because off-road is where my heart is, and that's where I grew up. But the micro and circle track racing is so much fun, and I've grown to just absolutely love it this last year.
So how did you get picked up by 49 Motorsports? You know, there's a lot of young drivers that want to get picked up, and
yeah.
So how did you get picked up?
So, funny story actually. It's actually a good friend of ours. It wasn't through any big team or anything. It was a small team. He was starting out new as well. And he had wanted to start a team for a while. He had sponsored a couple of sprint car drivers and stuff, but he bought a car, and I got into it and just kind of started rolling with it. It wasn't necessarily like a big team or anything to start off with. I think at the beginning of this year, he had 3 drivers on, including me. But yeah, I mean, it was just a close friend of ours, and through connections and through kind of talking about everything, we were able to, show him what I had done in the past and show him that I would be able to do this, and we just started from there.
Racing's all about exposure, as you know. How do you expose yourself in the racing world?
Probably the biggest way I expose myself would be through social media and my interview and podcast show. Social media nowadays, especially for young females, has blown up in the last couple of years. Like posting and staying on top of, representing yourself and, showing your supporters what you're doing has become huge in the last couple of years. And it's really been a good avenue for me to show everybody what I'm doing.
Sure. I'm teaching my daughter right now about social media, so I know exactly what it's like.
Yeah, it took me a couple years. I probably started when I was around 12, really taking over my own social media, and I'm 16 now, so I've got about 4 years under my belt with it. And I mean, the last 2, I probably gained the most knowledge, and the biggest thing that I can probably say is just to post as much as you can and to be yourself. You don't want to come across as somebody else, because you want to come across as yourself. So when you meet those people, it sounds like you, and your fans want to see what you're doing. They don't want to see a post once a month or once every 6 months. They want to see day-to-day stuff, your day-to-day life, what you're doing all the time.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. You people want to know who you are. And that's why when we start, we ask you to tell us a little bit about yourself, because they can follow your racing probably on your racing page or at the track. But they want to know, do you play volleyball at school? Where do you go to school? Do you like school? What else do you do besides racing? So tell us all about that. What do you do besides racing?
So I do online school actually for racing. So when we travel, it's not an issue when I miss days. And then I run the interview and podcast show with Shane Saunders. It's called Local Legends and Icons. So I run the social media page on there as well. And then I also work on the side a little bit for my dad's business. I help out in the office with payroll and taxes, all that good stuff. So I like to keep myself busy. I like to, be able to work and meet people all the time.
So at 16, you're running basically the office for your dad.
I help. I say
you help.
50. Yeah.
Okay.
More of the customer side stuff, just because he's the owner and it's easier to get a hold of him. But a lot of, I guess you could say, the behind the scenes stuff and dealing with the employees and that kind of stuff, I try and handle more of that for him.
That's pretty impressive for a 16-year-old, I have to say, because I worked in an office for a long time and did payroll and all that stuff, and that's not easy. So, no, I'll give you kudos for that, for sure.
Yeah, you sound like a really well-rounded individual, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, that's my goal. I want to be able to have as many talents and have as much experience and everything I can. So when I hit that, 18 or 20-year-old age, I can go off and be able to do multiple things.
So you talked about 18 to 20-year-old. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I'm hoping with either a full-time midget ride or sprint car ride. And for the podcast and interview show, my podcast and interview show, to be big and to be a well-known show. And I want to be either out of college or in college for a marketing degree and a business degree.
Where can people see your podcast?
Yeah. They can see it on YouTube, Local Legends and Icons, or you can follow us on Instagram, and there's a link in the bio to go watch them. And then there's previews and stuff on Instagram.
So what's your Instagram handle so we can share that?
Yeah, my personal Instagram handle is Jess Owens 97.
Okay.
And then the show's Instagram handle is Local Legends and Icons.
Okay. We'll share that so people know. Okay. So who have you interviewed on your podcast?
So far, we have done 2 outside guests. It's still fairly new. We've done Alexia Leeming and Dexter Warren. Alexia is I think she's 15 now, 15-year-old female out of Arizona as well. And she races UTVs in Best in the Desert, which is a huge desert series all across America. And she just started that this year. She just started racing big desert races, which can average from 200 to 1,000 miles.
Wow.
So you're in a car anywhere from 5 to 24 hours, even longer sometimes if you're having issues. So we interviewed her on all that stuff and her story and, the changes from her being in short course before the desert. And then Dexter is actually, I believe he's 8 or 9 now. He is from Australia, and he is here racing for a year or 2 years. He's about a year and a half in now, he's been here, and he's racing a Razor 170 all across America. He's won, I believe, 2 or 3 championships since he's been here, and he's just knocking it out of the park with everything he's doing right now.
Okay, now I'm going to ask you a question. So it's called Local Legends and Icons. So you know what I thought? I thought it was going to be old people like me.
Yes.
But it's not. It's basically young kids.
No, actually.
No?
We started out with young kids, yes. We're hoping with the next couple people we can start getting up to adults and stuff. And we also, our biggest focus with it was just to find people and have them tell their story and tell people what really it takes to race. Because like you guys were saying earlier, yes, there's the glory of showing up to the track and the things that people see on your post, but then there's the work that goes on in the car, the posting on social media, marketing yourself, the business side of racing that a lot of people don't see, and just that all the time and effort that people put into it, that was our main focus with it.
Okay, good. So I'm gonna find that podcast and I'm gonna start listening, and I'm gonna wait to hear when they start having local icons or far away icons and legends, because I would be in the over 60 group, just so you know.
Okay, sounds good. When there's somebody over 60, I will let you know.
Okay, awesome.
And I got a 16-year-old that would probably be on there if you needed somebody too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. We have a long list of people, and I am totally open to adding people to that list.
Yeah. So what social media platform what ones do you use, and how do you use each one, like, differently?
So I would say I probably use Instagram the most. I use it just to post day-to-day stuff on stories. I use it to post race reports. I use it to post updates. I use it to promote the podcast and interview show. And then I use Facebook as well for stuff like this, same general posting, same day-to-day life stuff. I use YouTube on the interview show to post the interviews. And I'm working on getting a Twitter up right now.
Okay. So Twitter, in my opinion, Twitter is the negative kind of, but there's so many race people use Twitter like more than anything. So you almost have to be on there, but you can't get drugged down with all the negativity, because there's a lot of it on Twitter. I think more so than any other platform.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. And I think that's why we kind of pushed it out as long as we could and focused more so on Instagram, because I feel like Instagram's a lot more positive.
Mm-hmm.
And you also, it's easier to post pictures. I feel like people want to see pictures and
Right.
videos, and I love editing too. So
Yeah.
I love editing videos and all that, so I can post those on Instagram. And I think Twitter is a really good area to give like quick race updates and stuff. That as far
Right.
as like you were saying, the negativity is very big on there.
So what about TikTok?
A little bit, yeah, more so on just fun side. I posted a couple videos on my page. I've looked into actually like going somewhere with it, but then again though, I think Instagram and Facebook on the business side of it is way more professional.
Yeah.
Have you tried LinkedIn?
I have not yet, actually. I just talked to Lori about it probably a couple weeks ago about getting me a LinkedIn.
I started LinkedIn about 4 months ago, and it's actually helped a lot.
I'll have to look into that, yeah.
Yeah, so LinkedIn is where you're going to find, I feel like, the more professionals. So especially if you want people to start seeing who you are, what your brand is, what you do, LinkedIn is a great place for that. And even, at your young age, because when I first got really, I had a LinkedIn account for years and never even posted one thing. And then I took a class with a friend of mine who's an expert in LinkedIn, and I found out that, it's really the place where if you want to find out who's the president of the company or who's the marketing person, LinkedIn is the place to do it. And
that's where you go.
That's where you go. And now I've got like 5,000 people that, and it's just one at a time, but it's really good. And I've met some amazing people through LinkedIn who probably are going to be some help down the road, once you build that relationship.
So like a LinkedIn story for you is, I kept seeing somebody was looking at the racing page, so I looked it up, and he was the Phillips 66 CEO. So I messaged him. I'm like, hey, we use Phillips 66 a lot. We figured out that it gets the best gas mileage. What do you think of partnering with us? And he didn't message me back, and he looked. It says he looked at your profile every day. He's looking at your profile. So then finally, 3 days later, he messaged me back and says, hey, we're going to send you a gift card. We like what we've seen. We like your story. So, and I see Bill Gates has looked at our racing page. I mean, it's a big platform. It's a good platform to get on if you're looking to grow.
It really is. Yeah, for sure. So,
Very cool. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. So I'm really interested in the podcast. How did you get, what made you want to do a podcast? I mean, I know they're like hot, obviously right now. It's the thing to have. Everybody's got one, right? We've got two. We've got one. We have one that we record, and we have one that's live like this. So what gave you the idea, and how did you get started, in case somebody that's listening is like, well, if she can do it, I can do it. What would you, tell them what you had to do.
So I've always loved being on talk shows and interview shows, and we had Shane Saunders reach out to us, and he also has a realtor business, and he would do short interviews and kind of similar to what we're doing, like stories on people, like interesting people locally, and he came out and interviewed me, and he really liked the interview, really liked that I could speak well, had a social media platform behind me, and was trying to grow my brand, and we got connected, and it was kind of like a mutual idea to start the podcast for racers and, any business owners locally. And from there, we got a hold of video people and got a hold of the right people to get it going, and we started our Instagram page and started our YouTube page and just started posting a lot to try and grow the page, and got a couple people on there, and from there, the rest is history.
Yeah. It's all about getting out in front of people and letting them know what you're doing. So,
yeah.
So last week was it only our second one, really, Brett? Last week? Yeah. We had over 1,000 people watch, which I was shocked. I didn't expect that many in our second show. And so every week it grows. I share it. You're going to share it. Brett's going to share it. But isn't that what it's all about? Letting people know who you are and what you're doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think you have to be patient as well. You can't expect it all to come in one shot. And, putting the work in and presenting yourself and not being afraid behind a camera, I think has been the biggest thing that's helped me. Or when you're doing interviews with the microphone, like, you have to just not be afraid of it. I think that's probably the biggest thing I've seen, and especially young kids, is they are so scared of it. I'm like, it's okay, just tell your story. Like people just want to hear the authentic you, and that's probably about the biggest thing you can do. And then, when you get to that level where you can start your own podcast, or you can start your own interview show, like it's just second nature for yourself.
Yeah, when I first started my podcast, and I interviewed Brett's daughter, and Brett and I talked on the phone, gosh, Brett, 2 years ago or more.
Yeah.
And when you say, oh, I want you on my podcast, even, it doesn't matter the age, people are nervous about it. And I always say, first of all, I'm not going to ask you anything you don't know the answer to, because we're going to talk about you and your story. And it's just we're just having a conversation, you and I. Forget about who's going to listen to it later. It's just you and I. It's just you, me, and Brett, or whoever. And don't worry about it. And if your cat jumps up on the computer, like it did one time during a podcast, and disconnected the lady, okay, I can edit that. It's not a big deal. It's don't be afraid of it. And I love, I find that really the younger ones maybe don't have as much to say. They have short answers, but they don't have any filters either. They kind of just say what they're going to say.
Yeah, when we interviewed Dexter the first time, it was probably one of the funniest interviews I've ever done in my life. Like every question we asked him, I was just cracking up laughing by the end, because there's just no filter, and he will just tell you straight as it is.
Yeah, and that's the way it should be. I mean, especially with kids. I love that. Adults tend to want to say what they think they should say, or what you want to hear, and I would much rather you tell me that your life sucks this week, like I just told you about mine, because that's real life, and that tells me who you are, and that's what I want to know.
Yeah, exactly. Everybody wants to hear your real story, not the fake side of it.
Absolutely. So what's your favorite thing about being involved in motorsports?
Ooh. Obviously driving. But I think side to that is probably connecting with people and meeting people in the industry. I never understood from a young age that, like, there are so many people in motorsports and so many people in motorsports that want to connect.
Yeah.
Like everybody you meet is like so sweet, just wants to talk, wants to be your friend. Like at the track, like you could break something and the person next to you's like, oh, here. Like,
right.
It's like everybody's one big family. And when you meet business people and when you're doing partnerships, like you become like one almost, and it's so amazing. Like I never understood at a young age like what I was really getting into, and probably once I hit about 13, 14, I realized like wow, this is like a serious thing.
When I started IWMA in 2017, And I'll tell you my story how I started some other time. But I knew there were a lot of women in motorsports, but I had no idea how many. And if I had known, I probably would have scared myself out of it. But I was like, I can tell these stories. I owned a weekly newspaper for 10 years. I love telling stories. It's no different to interview on a podcast, or whatever, or write a magazine and tell the stories. But wow, I mean, just the number of women, and in 2017, it wasn't near what it is today. And so, I'm never going to run out of content. That's the good thing, because there's always going to be a woman to interview. But don't you love being a part of the demographic? Sorry, Brett. Of the demographic that is growing the fastest. I mean, Adriana's part of it.
Yeah.
It's growing the fastest.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I'm part of it because I'm Adriana's manager. I'm her dad, so I have to be part of it to know what's going on.
Right.
And that's how me and you met. And that's why I'm part of this podcast, because I want to help the women grow in the industry.
Well, and we talked on the phone, and then I was able to go out to Lori's in Iowa, and twice, and go watch Adriana race and meet them in person, and now they're like family. So that's what you said. These people are like family, and I feel like if I was driving across country in my RV and I had something go wrong, I would go to Facebook and be like, I'm in Las Vegas, New Mexico, which I did go through there, and I need help. Who's close? Yeah. And I know that there's people that would reach out to me. That's just how the race family is.
We had enemies at the racetrack. Like Adriana was learning how to race and hit a kid pretty hard in the corner, and her dad chewed her butt, And then the following month, when we went and raced again, Adriana got in a rollover bad back, and we thought her cart was trash, and he came over and fixed it for her and bent it back. So everybody's family. It's like we've had 3 people on the show, and so far every single person we've asked that question has said the exact same thing.
I hear it all the time. Anytime I do a podcast, or when I send a questionnaire to do a story for the magazine, that's what I hear 99.9% of the time. It's the people you meet, it's the family at the racetrack, it's your competition on the track, but if something goes wrong, they're right there to help you when you're off. And it's the one thing that I always say nobody can take away from us. So if your podcast and your racing goes away, if this goes away from me, if Adriana doesn't run the race anymore, the one thing nobody can take away is that now, Jesse, you're in our family. You're in our race family. Brett and I will always be race family. Nobody can take that away from us. And you don't get that with softball and baseball and football. You outgrow those sports as a kid, and the parents all go different ways. But racing, the racing family is a family no matter what.
So welcome to the family.
Welcome to the family, for sure. So Jesse, is there anything that we haven't talked to you about that you would like to share? I mean, we've talked about a lot, but you've got so much going on, and you're such a go-getter. I bet you've got other things going on. What else is happening with Jesse?
I think just big things with the podcast right now, and staying on top of my social media. And I've been working with Lori as well, like we talked about earlier. She's been absolutely amazing to work with, and we've been working these past weeks to kind of get me out into partnerships and meeting business people and learning to present my brand as one. And I think the last 6 weeks for me have been a really big eye-opener on how important it is just to make your own brand, get partnered with the right people, and to not be afraid to reach out to businesses for partnerships. Like Brett, like you were saying earlier, how you reach out to that company because they kept you in your profile. Like you can't be afraid to do that stuff, because 90% of the time, like it's gonna come back as a positive result, And I think she's really shown me that it's there's possibilities everywhere.
Oh, for sure. I know she's worked with Adriana and Brett, and I know one thing she tells you is you don't know who's watching, and you don't know who might watch this podcast and be like, wow, that Jessie's a pretty sharp young gal. I think I need to get in touch with her. Or, watched a race with Adriana, and you don't know who's sitting in the stands. Or maybe they're not sitting in the stands, but maybe their sister is. And they go and they like, hey, Joe, I just saw this young gal race. I think you need to put your insurance company on her car, or whatever it might be. So you, one, have to be on your toes, don't you? Because you don't know who's watching all the time. Be on your toes, and you see these NASCAR, okay, poor Ty Gibbs has just gotten crap up one side and down the other but he's young and he's in a very tough position, being Joe Gibbs' grandson, and they're expecting a lot out of him and all that. But you've just got to be on top. Everything you say, everything you do, how you dress, what you do, if you really want to go somewhere and be successful. And that's something that I think a lot of the younger racers, I want to say even 18 and under, 21 and under, they don't always get that. They just want to, kind of, I say, throw up on everybody and tell their all the drama. And sponsors are not going to go for that.
You have to be a professional right now. Like right now.
Yes.
If you're a 12-year-old kid, you're a professional. Like if you're wanting to move up in the world, you can't just.
For sure.
You are definitely a professional.
Right now. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and you walk in with the racing with the intent to go somewhere. So I feel like there isn't really like an age limit for the time you should start working on your career and working on, your speaking. And I think a really big thing too is like when you're at the track, like when you're frustrated or something goes wrong, it's just to stay calm and to stay humble. Or when you get those negative comments on your Instagram or Facebook or your Twitter post, like just to move it to the side and let it be, because you're not going to fix the issue. Those people are haters. You just have to let them do their thing, and you have to focus on yourself and focus on growing your own career.
Well, and sometimes the haters it comes from jealousy. Is really, when you think about it, that's usually where it's coming from. And the fact that when you said like stay calm, because as girls we like to cry, sorry, my one thing I didn't tell you that happened this morning, my 12-year-old grandson went out to feed his 3 dogs, and one of them had died overnight, and he's devastated. And then I started crying. And then Mark had a tear or two, because Mark's a big dog lover. And it's like, yeah, sometimes you just got to let it out and let it go. But, at the racetrack, that's not always the place you want to do it, because in it you look a little bit girly or weak. And we don't really want to look girly, but yet we do. You know what I mean? There's a fine line between it.
Yeah. The fine line, exactly, yes.
Yeah.
When you're at that car and you're frustrated about something, you just kind of have to move on from it, accept it, and if that was a heat race that went bad, you have to move on because you still have the main to do better.
Right. Right.
There's always positives.
What's some advice you'd give young girls?
I would probably say, like, if you're gonna cry, just keep your visor down on your helmet, maybe. I learned that at a very young age. Like, if you're gonna cry, just don't take off your helmet, at least, so nobody sees it.
Yeah.
And then just to look at it as like, well, I made a mistake or something happened, but what did I learn out of this? What can I take away from what just happened and use it to benefit me in the future? Yes, it sucked. Yes, it was bad. But you can't dwell on it forever, because it happened. Just move on, learn from it, and do the best you can next time you get back out on the track.
So you said something about your haters, everybody has them. So I just seen a quote today that says, nobody watches you more than the people who don't like you. So give them a show.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yeah. I think I've seen that quote before, and it definitely is at the top of my list of those quotes that you look at. I mean, the haters are, unfortunately, you're never going to get rid of them. So you see the negative comments, you see them, and you just either delete them or you leave them and you move on. I mean, they're not there to say positive things, and they're not there to support you. So I think the best thing you can do for yourself, especially at a young age, is not to get down on yourself. It's just to move on from it. Because I would hate to see somebody young get a negative comment or get somebody on there say something negative about them and it just tear them down.
Is that right, Brett? Did I type it right?
Yep. My other favorite saying is, haters are my motivators.
Oh, that's good too. That's good too.
I love that one.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, Jesse, you've been such a joy to talk to. I've heard good things about you from Lori, and so we wanted to have you on, and it worked out that she talked to you yesterday, and we had an opening tonight, and so this worked out perfect. It's God's timing, for you to be on the show with us tonight. Brett, do you have anything else you want to talk to her about?
No, I think you did a really good job. You're really well-rounded and very mature for your age. We're proud of you, and we're going to follow your journey. And like I said, welcome to the family.
Right, for sure.
Thank you guys so much for having me on here. I really appreciate it. And thank you, everybody, too, that is watching and supporting me on my journey.
Absolutely. So we will share your website. I know you have a new website, so we will write. You have a new website?
I have a website as well, yeah. It's Jesse Owens 97, I believe, yes.
Okay, so we'll share some of that stuff when we post the link for this, and share, because we want people to know more about you. And if there's ever anything that Brett or I can do to help you or promote you or have you on again, if you've got something big coming up, then you just have you have to reach out to us. So thanks, Jesse, for being on, and have a good rest of the week.
It was a pleasure. Thank you guys so much. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Good luck.
Wow. What do you think?
Yeah, she's. We heard that she was a pretty mature 16-year-old, and that was true.
It was true. Yeah, absolutely. And the young girls and even some of the older gals can learn a lot from her, because I love what she said about when things go wrong, stay calm. That's so hard to do, even as an adult. When all that stuff was going wrong, and my guy didn't order the cabinets and whatever, you just get so wound up. And it's like, okay, I need to take a breath. I just ran into the corner. Somebody threw me into the wall. I can't go out and wreck them on the next one, because that doesn't solve anything. I just got to take a breath, move on, and it'll be better the next time.
For sure.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about our next shows, because we're going to stick to Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, 6 Central Time, which is where you are. I'm back in Michigan. I'm on Eastern Time. Jesse was in Arizona. Wish I was there, but anyway, 4 p.m. In Arizona. And so we have got a calendar that we're putting together, and we may be reaching out to you or somebody to be on this live show. So if you have somebody that you think would be good on this show, please reach out to Brett or I, and nominate them, or whatever you want to call it, suggest them to us. And we're going to try to book out a month, 6 weeks at a time, and then we'll put it out there so who's going to be on the show coming up. And things happen sometimes. We might have to change it, but we're going to try to do that so that everybody knows what's happening, and it's better for us if we can get it booked out farther.
Yeah, I got a list to send you, by the way. So.
Okay, awesome. Sounds great. So go ahead.
Next week's show, we're going to have Abby Gunker. She's a really smart individual herself, and she's a young kid. And
isn't she like 9 years old?
Yeah,
something like that. Is she older than?
I think she's 12.
Oh, she's 12. Okay, I've got her confused. Okay.
And she, you're thinking of Bad Addison. She's going to be on the call.
I have her on my list too, so that we're both thinking of her, Bad Addison. Yeah.
So but Abby is going to be a good one to have on. I've asked her a few questions already.
Okay.
So, I'm trying to prepare people when you come on the show. And you don't have to be professional. So we're trying to get the young kids are fun because we're going to watch them grow, and everybody gets to watch them grow. So.
Absolutely. Yeah, so we're going to have a good mix, I think, young ones, and then, teenage to maybe 30s, and then maybe we'll have some older ones, sharing their experiences and how things have changed since they started. I mean, we're going to have a big variety of women, but I love the kids. I absolutely love having the kids, and even though she didn't act like a kid, Jessie's still 16, she's still a kid, and so I love having them on. It's awesome.
I've got Fiona from Hotline Racewear in Australia.
Yeah.
She's pretty big in the racing world in Australia over there, so she's going to come on too.
Yeah, and she actually gives a discount to our members. So if anybody wants to become a member of IWMA, that's how we're able to do this. It's not free. And so, we'd love to have you become a member, and even like Shift Up Now, we started talking about them. We're both members of them, and the reason for that is because we want to support women in all areas of racing, and a lot of those are F4, F1, different kinds of racing that, you and I really don't get to watch very much, at least in person, but we still want to support those women and what they're doing because they're really breaking ground in some of the things they're doing. So, and then the other thing I want to make sure people know too, Brett, is that if you want to race, or you've done, maybe you don't even have to win a race. You've been racing and you won your heat race, or you got third in the heat race. It's the best you've done, or whatever your successes might be. Reach out and either share it with Brett, hopefully with a picture, or me, and say, hey, I've been racing for 3 years, and this is the first time I got a top 5. That's a big deal, right? And we want to share that with people. So we'll put it on our Facebook page. We'd like to be able to mention you on this show and say, hey, we just heard from Jessie Owens. She just won her first heat race in the micro sprints. Or, we want to share that. We're all about connecting and celebrating women in motorsports. And we can't do that if you don't tell us what you're up to, because, gosh, I don't know about you, but I can't keep track of all these girls. There's too many of them.
For sure. There is, after joining, with you within the last 6 months, even I've noticed so many women. And it's I thought Adriana was few and far between, but it's when you look in the racing world, it's like there is a lot of girls out there.
Oh my gosh! And if you ever went to a fairly big drag race event, the little girls and junior dragsters nearly outnumber the boys.
That's awesome.
And I got a drag strip not far from me, about a half hour now, and those are my favorite ones, is those little girls and those junior dragsters. So so reach out to us, tell us, and hey, if you're going to be near Wapello, Iowa, or if you're going to be near Kalamazoo, Michigan, within an hour, maybe even 2, let us know, because if you're not racing, or obviously my granddaughter races, but sometimes I have to put business before granddaughter, and I'll come and watch you. I'd love to go watch the girls that we meet, and as you're able, I know you would too. So reach out to us, let us know, and great show, Brett.
Yeah, we're actually looking at going to Millbridge too. So
I'd love to go to Millbridge.
If you're going to be around there, I'll post when we're going. But
that's on my list. It's on my list. So last thing before we go, so there's another live show right after this, put on by the Midwest Compact Touring Series. Those guys have been friends of mine forever, and I don't want to steal their thunder, but they're going to have an announcement tonight. Maybe they might have announced it on Facebook, but if I said that you need to put North Wilkesboro on your calendar for August 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, you might just want to tune in to their show right after this. It starts at 8 o'clock, and find out what's going on. And I'm actually going to be on there sharing some thoughts about how to build your brand. I'm so glad Jessie gave me some tips that I can share on that show. So it's on at 8 o'clock, Midwest Compact Touring Series, and get on there and watch. And then, hey, we'll see them next week, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Lorianne, we see your comment, and we're excited to have Abby.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. That's going to be so fun. So, we haven't gotten a lot of people watching live, And I was concerned about that until I went and looked at how many watched it after 4 days. It was like 1.2 thousand people. It was like, okay, I'm happy with that. Yeah. So awesome, Brett. Well, you have a great week. We'll stay in touch, and we'll head out and say thanks everybody for listening. Feel free to share. We're going to share the link on Brett's page, my page. Share it and let people know what we're doing, because this is a lot of fun.
It is, for sure.
It is. All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thanks for listening.